I want to show you something that most believers will never discover in their entire lives. Not because it's hidden in some ancient manuscript, not because it requires theological degrees, but because they quit too soon. They pray once, twice, maybe 3 times, see nothing change, and walk away convinced that prayer doesn't work. Let me tell you what I've learned after decades of ministry, building one of the largest churches in history from absolutely nothing. Prayer is not what you think it is. It's not a religious activity. It's not a spiritual duty you check off your list. It's not even primarily about getting answers from God. Prayer is warfare. Prayer is surgery. Prayer is the most violent act of faith you can engage in, because every time you open your mouth to speak to the Creator, you are declaring war on an invisible kingdom that desperately wants you silent. Right now, as you listen to these words, there is a dimension operating parallel to yours. You cannot see it with your physical eyes. You cannot touch it with your hands. But it is more real than the chair you're sitting on. And in that dimension, there is a battle raging over your life, your family, your destiny. The question is not whether this battle exists. The question is, are you participating in it, or are you letting the enemy win by default? Here's what breaks my heart. I've watched believers spend hours scrolling through their phones, hours watching television, hours in meetings and conversations and activities that will not matter 5 minutes after they die, but ask them to spend 1 hour in prayer, and suddenly, they have no time. We have time for everything except the one thing that changes everything. Jesus asked his disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane, "Could you not watch with me 1 hour?" He wasn't asking for a week. He wasn't asking for a day. 1 hour. And they couldn't do it. They fell asleep while Jesus sweat drops of blood, carrying the weight of humanity's sin. 2,000 years later, we're still falling asleep. Not physically, but spiritually. We're awake to the world, but asleep to the kingdom. We're engaged with the temporary, but disconnected from the eternal. And the enemy loves it. He doesn't mind if you go to church every Sunday. He doesn't mind if you read your Bible occasionally. He doesn't even mind if you call yourself a Christian. What terrifies him is when you discover what really happens when you pray. Because when you pray, heaven mobilizes. When you pray, angels receive assignments. When you pray, demonic strongholds begin to crack. When you pray, generational curses lose their power. When you pray, the impossible becomes possible. But here's the part that few understand. None of this happens instantly. The moment you pray, things begin shifting in the unseen realm. But you won't see the manifestation immediately. This is where most people quit. They pray, expect instant results, see nothing, and conclude that God isn't listening. Let me prepare you for what comes next. I'm going to show you exactly what happens in the spiritual dimension when you pray, and I promise you this: if you truly understand what I'm about to reveal, you will never approach prayer the same way again. Let me take you to Daniel chapter 10. This is one of the most revealing passages in Scripture about the mechanics of prayer that most preachers never explain properly. Daniel prayed for 21 days. 21 days of fasting, seeking God's face, crying out for understanding. And nothing happened. No voice from heaven, no angelic visitation, no breakthrough, just silence. Most people would have quit after 3 days, some after a week. But Daniel persisted. And on the 21st day, an angel appeared to him with a message that changes everything we think we know about prayer. The angel said, "From the first day that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words." Read that again carefully. From the first day, not the 21st day, the first day his prayer was heard in heaven. So why did it take 21 days for the answer to arrive? The angel continues, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." Here is what I need you to understand. When Daniel prayed on day 1, his words did not evaporate into thin air. They pierced through dimensions. They reached the throne room of God, and immediately God dispatched an angel with the answer. But between heaven and earth, there was a demonic prince assigned to that territory, a fallen angel, a principality with authority over that region. And when this angel saw the messenger coming from heaven with Daniel's breakthrough, he attacked. For 21 days, there was warfare in the invisible realm. Angel against demon, light against darkness. And Daniel, on earth, had no idea this battle was raging. He just kept praying. He kept fasting. He kept seeking God's face. This is what happens every single time you pray. Your words don't just bounce off the ceiling, they create shockwaves in the spirit realm. They activate heavenly forces. They trigger demonic resistance. They set in motion a sequence of events that you cannot see, but that are absolutely real. When you pray for your sick child, angels are dispatched. When you pray for your struggling marriage, demonic assignments are disrupted. When you pray for your finances, spiritual blockages begin to dissolve. When you pray for your calling, doors that were welded shut begin to loosen. But it doesn't happen instantly. And this is where faith comes in. Not the faith that demands immediate results. The faith that persists even when you see nothing changing. The faith that keeps praying on day 14 when nothing has moved. The faith that continues on day 20 when circumstances look worse than when you started. Because here's the truth most believers never grasp. The delay is not denial. The delay is warfare. And the only way the enemy wins is if you stop praying before the breakthrough arrives. How many blessings have been forfeited because someone quit on day 20? How many miracles never manifested because the person stopped praying on day 19? How many answers from heaven were canceled because the believer gave up on day 18? Your breakthrough might be one prayer away. Your miracle might be one more day of seeking God. Your answer might be en route right now, fighting through resistance to reach you. Don't stop now. Now I need to tell you something that may sound strange at first, but it's absolutely critical. Prayer does not just change your circumstances. Prayer changes you. I've met countless people over the years who come desperate for God to fix their problems. Fix my marriage. Fix my finances. Fix my health. Fix my children. And they pray with intensity, with passion, with tears. But they pray with the wrong focus. They want God to change everything around them, while they themselves remain exactly the same. This is not how the kingdom operates. When you enter genuine prayer, not the quick religious prayer before meals, not the emergency prayer when crisis hits, but real, sustained, intimate prayer, something begins to shift inside you that is more valuable than any external blessing. Your pride begins to crack. Your self-sufficiency begins to crumble. Your illusion of control starts to shatter. And this process is painful. This is why most people avoid deep prayer, not because they don't have time, because they don't want to face themselves in God's presence. In true prayer, you cannot hide. You cannot pretend. You cannot maintain the image you show to everyone else. When it's just you and God, with no audience, no performance, no reputation to protect, the mask falls off. And you see yourself as you really are. This terrifies people. They would rather stay busy, stay distracted, stay in their comfortable delusions than face the truth about their own hearts. But healing cannot come without this confrontation. Breakthrough cannot come without this surrender. I'll tell you something from my own journey. There was a season in my life when I was physically broken, mentally exhausted, spiritually dry. I had built a massive church, preached to millions, written books, traveled the world. But inside, I was empty. And I didn't want anyone to know. In that darkness, I couldn't preach my way out. I couldn't work my way out. I couldn't study my way out. All I could do was pray. Not impressive prayers, not eloquent prayers, broken prayers, desperate prayers, sometimes just groaning when words wouldn't come. And in those moments, God didn't fix everything instantly. He didn't remove all the pain. He didn't answer all my questions. But He did something more important. He met me in that place. And slowly, imperceptibly, He began reconstructing something in me that success had destroyed. Humility, dependence, childlike trust. This is what prayer does. It strips away everything false until only what's real remains. It empties you of yourself so God can fill you with Himself. And this process is worth more than 1,000 answered prayers, because once you've been changed from the inside, the external circumstances become secondary. You stop praying just to get things from God. You start praying to get more of God Himself. And when that shift happens, when your prayer life moves from transaction to transformation, you've discovered something that most believers spend their entire lives missing. You've discovered that the greatest miracle is not what God does for you, but what God does in you through prayer. The healing of your soul, the renewal of your mind, the restoration of your spirit. This cannot be bought. This cannot be earned. This cannot be achieved through any human effort. This only comes through sustained, intimate, secret prayer with the living God. So now we arrive at the question that matters most. What will you do with what you've learned? You can close this message and return to your life unchanged. You can agree with everything I've said and still do nothing differently. You can feel inspired for a few moments and then forget it all by tomorrow. This is what most people do. Or you can make a decision right now that will alter the trajectory of everything ahead of you. The decision to return to the secret place, to close the door, to silence the noise, to seek God's face as if your life depends on it. Because it does. Listen carefully. While you neglect prayer, the enemy advances. While you live distracted, your family is under attack. While you scroll mindlessly through your phone, spiritual ground is being lost. While you fill your schedule with everything except God, doors are closing that should be opening. Prayer is not optional for the believer. It is oxygen for your spirit. You can survive a few days without food. You can last a short time without water. But try to live without breathing. Impossible. The same reality exists spiritually. When we stop praying, we begin dying inside, slowly, silently, but inevitably. This is why so many Christians are dry, cold, passionless, lifeless. God didn't leave them. They stopped seeking Him. I'm going to challenge you with something specific. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you turn on the news, before you start your routine, give God 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. Close your door. Turn off all notifications and pray. Not because you have to, not out of religious obligation, but because you want to encounter the God who spoke galaxies into existence and knows your name. The God who counts every hair on your head and collects every tear you've cried. Don't worry if you don't know what to say. Speak from your heart. Don't worry if you feel unworthy. He receives you as you are. Don't worry if you failed 1,000 times. His mercy is new every morning. Pray with faith. Pray with persistence. Pray with expectation. And watch what happens. Watch how peace begins flooding your heart. Watch how clarity returns to your mind. Watch how chains begin breaking. Watch how doors begin opening. If I could go back and give my younger self one piece of advice, it would be this. Pray more. Preach less and pray more. Plan less and pray more. Work less and pray more. Because at the end of everything, the only thing that truly matters is your relationship with God. And that relationship is cultivated on your knees. Let this message not just be information. Let it be transformation. Let today be the day you decide to return to the altar of prayer. Let today be the day the fire ignites again in your life. There's something powerful that happens when you declare in faith what God has already decreed over you in heaven. So I want to invite you to write in the comments, I will never stop praying. And if you sense in your spirit that someone close to you needs to hear this, share it. Because messages of liberation never arrive by coincidence, they arrive by divine assignment. I need you to understand something profound. If you've stayed with me until this exact moment, through every word of this message, it wasn't random. Out of thousands who started listening, you are among the few who remained until the end. Do you know what that reveals to me about you? That there's something in your spirit that refuses to settle for a powerless Christian life. That deep within you, there's a prayer warrior waiting to be awakened. So I want to honor you with something significant. Write in the comments, I commit to prayer, and add your name. Because when you put your name there, you're declaring before heaven and earth, I, your name, make the decision today to return to the secret place. And then, I want you to do something more. Read the names of others who are commenting. These are your brothers and sisters in this battle. You're not alone in this journey. We are a family of believers who decided that today the silence ends. Today the prayerlessness ends. When you see those names, pray for them. Trust that they will pray for you, because this is how the kingdom operates. Together, on our knees, unstoppable.